a lot of athletes, like you said, they do translate into the broadcast world. And what he's going to be able to do, I think he's working like 20-some odd weeks out of the year for broadcast, so he could probably caddy for people at the same time. But he's going to bring insight and professional insight to the public that not many other broadcasters can, because he worked with Phil for so long, 25 years, quarter of a century. So he's going to, in high pressure situations, he's going to be able to let the public know what he would do, what he would tell athletes as a caddy, what he would tell them to do, and what's going on through their mind in these situations. It's kind of an outlook that the public don't usually get, so it's kind of unique.
All right, brings us to this article in CBS Sports. 12 coaches, college football coaches, are considered untouchable, one of which is Rocky Long. It's a two-part question. Are there truly untouchable coaches in college football? And has Rocky Long earned the status of, hey, I'll leave when I want to leave the Mesa?
Yeah, I think if that term untouchable is going to apply to anyone, I think it would be Rocky Long. What he's done with San Diego State over the past 6 years or longer even, I mean, they went to a bowl for the past 6 seasons, and in their last 2, they went 11-3. So that doesn't say anything like that. If that doesn't say enough for why he'd be untouchable, also with the fact that he has the 3rd highest winning percentage in the program's history, I mean, I think that all kind of culminates to justify why he'd be considered untouchable.
Yeah, Steve Fisher status. He gets to go. Very few coaches get to say when they want to leave, and he'll probably. All right, we have a 2-part Wimbledon story here. First of all, who's going to win the men's side? Who's going to win the women's side?
Yeah, for men's, I'm going Roger Federer. I know he's kind of the consensus favorite right now, but I think what's good for him, the X factor on the opposition isn't playing their best tennis right now. I mean, some people have lost Djokovic and Murray before in the past recently, but what this course does, or the court does, it's a lot faster, so his serves are going to be very strong. His forehand, his backhand obviously going to have a lot of backspin. It's going to skim. And then for the women's, I'm going Johanna Konta. I think what's great about her is that she's kind of playing with a lot of resilience. She's got a lot of momentum. She's never progressed this far in Wimbledon, which is why she's not really a favorite, but that's who I'm going with. She's going into this next round having lost to Caroline Garcia 7-6 at Indian Wells, so she's kind of trying to make a name for herself and improve on that loss. I think that her backhand is a little shaky. She needs to improve upon that. Forehand really good. Should be a great match.
All right, we have a women's tennis story. Go ahead, roll the video here. Venus Williams, who's at Wimbledon, as you all know, was recently involved in a fatal traffic accident. You're looking at the accident right here where her Sequoia pulled in front of another car, but according to police, Venus Williams lawfully entered the intersection before last month's fatal traffic collision. According to the police, they cite new evidence. This video evidence you're looking at right here shows that she entered the intersection legally before the collision. So she's probably not going to be ticketed. Now, that doesn't mean she isn't susceptible to civil suits from the car that hit her, and a passenger was killed, a 78-year-old passenger. But moral of the story is?
Yeah, I think it kind of goes to show you that whatever you hear first, breaking news, it's not always the most accurate, so you kind of got to wait until we get all the facts before we jump to conclusions.
And I think that's a lesson certainly young sportscasters like you have to remember, and old ones like me too. All right, before the ESPYs on Wednesday, there's this little press conference about a boxing fight going on, boxing match.
Just a little one.
Let's talk about that. Is the fight going to be, is the presser going to be more interesting than the actual fight?
Well, I think in fighting in general, like, the pressers are always really interesting, but I think the fight's not going to be all fluff, especially because McGregor definitely has something to prove. He's a UFC fighter coming over into a boxer's world. Mayweather's obviously one of the most popular. Both, they're knockout fighters, so I don't think this is going to go into late rounds, and I don't think that's what McGregor wants, because if it comes to a decision, I think the judges would go Mayweather, more technical, better boxer.
If Mayweather doesn't dominate and win decisively, does that give boxing a black eye?
That was a good one. I think we're both feeling kind of funny. Right, I would say so, yes.
Our last thing, Tour de France. Historically, Lance Armstrong, and there's been everybody.
Yes.
And is it a clean sport now?
I think it's getting there. It's definitely on the right track now. I think what's kind of the X factor on the down for cycling as a sport in general, people are always going to, or a lot of people might think or have skepticism for cycling because of all the cheating that's gone on in the past. But I think I'm kind of an optimist that the athletes will come around and follow the rules and not cheat. But I'm also a realist in that obviously there are going to be those people and those athletes who are going to want to cheat the system and win the infamous now yellow jersey. But I think it's on the right track.
We should mention Marcel Kittel won stage 7. Chris Froome remains in the yellow jersey. Yes. For the Watchdog, I'm Rudy. We're done. Back to the news side of things.
Thank you, guys.
This is the KUSI News at 5.
let's bring in our regular Friday night guest. If you follow the rankings in Sportscasters World Digest, you'll know that under the age of 20, he is considered the top-ranked sportscaster in the country. We call him Amadeus around here. His name is Mason Kern. Mason, where do you want to start? Before we talk about that, this is your, you're going to be, next week, you're going to be at the ESPY as well. What's going on there?
Yeah, I am. It's going to be a lot of fun. Hopefully going to get to talk to some pretty high-level people, get some great interviews for KUSI. I'm looking really forward to it.
Who are you going to talk to? Who do you have lined up?
I got Candace Parker, maybe, trying to get in touch with Tony Hawk even. So, yeah, it's going to be a great time.
All right, cool stuff. Let's start with, let's get to the big American monitor. We start with soccer coming up.
Yeah.
At the Q, the Gold Cup is going to be in town. Is that going to help create even more interest and lift Soccer City over the edge?
Well, I think the X factor on the up for soccer is that with the Chargers gone, it kind of opens up that need for a team here in San Diego. San Diegans want to rally behind a new team. But I don't think the Gold Cup on the downside is the tournament that's going to do it, because not all of the nations are bringing their A teams. So, because they kind of just played in the FIFA Confederations Cup, so not really bringing their best squads.
Second-tier sports.
Yeah, I guess so.
First of all, we say the Q, but it really isn't the Q anymore because the sponsorship, what do we call the stadium?
I don't know. Well, we're going to have to figure something out, I guess.
Soon to be torn down stadium. All right, let's talk about the OTL, the summer party known as the Over-the-Line tournament.
Yeah.
How is that trending? Up or down in your world?
Yeah, I think it's trending up for sure. It's a popular sport. I think the X factor on the up, especially because it's not super competitive, so a lot of people like to come out, have a great time down in Fiesta Island, come to the event. It's really a boon for tourism as well, though, because it's not only athletes who are coming worldwide to participate, but also spectators as well from a bunch of different regions. I mean, there were about like 1,200 spectators last year, so it's a really fun event. It should be a great time. I would love to go, but I don't know. I don't think I'm here.
Earlier in the week, we learned that Bones Mackay, the divorce between Phil Mickelson and his longtime caddy, Jim Mackay, became official. We found out who Mackay will be working for next.
Yes.
Take a listen to this.
First, I want to know if you've been able to talk to Phil since you decided to go into TV, and if so, what was his reaction?
So I texted him this morning and gave him a heads up as to what was going to be announced, but it was important to me not to interfere with what he had going on today.
So that means another guy goes into TV from the sports world.
Yeah.
But a year from now, will he be carrying a microphone or will he be carrying somebody else's golf clubs?
I think he can manage to do both.